By leaving the EU, Great Britain wanted to get rid of annoying laws and standards and is now introducing new ones. And this causes confusion for companies and costs money. For many people who voted to leave the EU in the 2016 Brexit referendum, surveys have shown that the EU's rules and norms were among the most important reasons for their decision. Politicians had also promised that everyday life in Great Britain would become easier again after leaving the EU. But according to a report in the Guardian newspaper, 4 years after the EU exit came into effect, the country is now facing its own new standards that are causing companies high additional costs. As an example, the British newspaper spoke to a representative of the insulation material manufacturer Recticel, headquartered in Belgium, which also operates 2 plants in the north of England. According to his account, Brexit has caused lengthy back and forth in this industry of all places and led to some confusion. It is now clear that after leaving the EU, a new product label will soon become the standard, which corresponds almost exactly to the requirements of the CE mark based on EU regulations. But there's a difference. This recertification is identical to the CE verification process, but costs tens of thousands of pounds for each product. The so-called UKCA mark, which was originally intended to replace the previous CE marking at the end of 2022, was introduced at the beginning of 2021 after the end of the transition period. Since then, there has been discussion in a wide range of industries about remaining with CE standards, and the transition phase for CE markings has been formally extended by 2 years until the end of 2024. However, according to The Guardian, an important part of the British government, and in this case the Department for Business and Trade, announced in the summer that it would put the mandatory introduction of UKCA on hold for the time being. However, this decision would still have no effect on the labeling of the insulation material produced at Recticel's Stoke-on-Trent site south of Manchester. This is because insulating materials are considered building materials and are therefore regulated by the Ministry of Construction. And this in turn has recently spoken out in favor of no longer accepting CE markings from June 25 and is now forcing manufacturers to recertify for the British market. And according to The Guardian, it should cost around £35,000 per product. And in addition, there's another £14,000 for renewed fire protection certification. A spokesman for the Industry Association for Insulation Manufacturers also confirmed the problem to The Guardian and called the threatened innovations and their consequences profound and extremely damaging. Experts are already warning that innovations like this could further weaken the British economy. Given that the majority of voters in the country see a recovery of the economy and a decline in inflation as a clear priority due to the crisis of rising living costs, the Tory government under Rishi Sunak could see this risk as damaging to its possible re-election. Another argument from the Brexiteers before the Brexit vote was EU regulations, according to which old British measurements such as the 568 milliliter pint had too little importance. But here too, a recent Guardian report suggests that the consequences of Brexit do not correspond to the ideal before the referendum. In this case too, it will probably fail due to feasibility. Experts from the wine industry and gastronomy recently explained this. The Ministry of Economic Affairs recently announced that it would soon allow the sale of wine and sparkling wine in pint bottles, as was the case in Churchill's time. Minister Kevin Hollinrake even spoke of a newly opened opportunity which would ultimately have been what leaving the EU would have been about. However, when asked by wine producers, many expressed little interest in the new requirement, which also allows 200 milliliter, 500 milliliter and pint sizes for wine bottles. And the reason is, apart from the unsustainable idea of producing even more different bottles, wine also matures better in larger bottles, which ultimately also affects the taste. According to industry insiders, wine producers told the government this before Hollenrake's announcement. It's more than 7 years since a tired and disheveled Nigel Farage delivered his Brexit-winning speech to the media, triumphantly declaring this will be a victory for the real people. But today, with the UK facing rising prices in the shops and its government struggling to control immigration, a new poll has revealed the majority of the British public believe leaving the EU was bad for the country's economy. I talked about this in the morning already. The survey of 2,000 UK voters run by Opinion for the Observer on the third anniversary of the UK leaving the EU single market and the customs union showed more than half of people thought Brexit had been harmful to the UK economy. And more than 60% felt Brexit had been bad for prices in the shops, and 53% said it had hampered the UK's ability to control immigration. In terms of Brexit's overall impact on the UK, just short of 50% of people surveyed said it had been negative, while just over 22% believed it has been positive. Vote Leave, the official campaign of the Brexit campaign, promised voters that leaving the EU would leave the UK in charge of its own borders, giving the country the choice on who enters without being overruled by European judges. It also said there would be more jobs through new trade deals struck with countries such as Australia and Brazil, and that an exit would save the country £350 million a week, which could be spent in schools and the NHS. However, in November last year, the NHS recorded its highest number of people on waiting lists, while inflation caused rising prices in the shops as food banks reported giving out a record number of emergency parcels over the past 6 months. The government has also struggled to tackle immigration, with channel crossings approaching 30,000 for 2023. And the year started with Rishi Sunak's promise to stop the boats. We all remember that. But there's another topic and another Prime Minister I don't want to forget today because of the news I got. Liz Truss, the shortest serving Prime Minister in British history, awarded some of the nation's highest honours to her political aides and allies, during her brief spell in office in 2022, as well as to Brexit campaigners. Former Prime Ministers such as Truss are entitled to bestow honours, including a lifetime seat in the British Parliament's House of Lords after they step down. And it's not uncommon for British leaders to use their list to reward political allies. Truss, who quit as Prime Minister in October 22 after just 44 days in office as her economic policies sparked market turmoil, awarded a seat in the House of Lords, known as Peerage, to Ruth Porter. That's her former Deputy Chief of Staff. Matthew Elliott and John Monaghan, senior members of the 2016 Vote Leave Brexit campaign, also received peerages. I am delighted these champions for the conservative causes of freedom, limited government and a proud and sovereign Britain have been suitably honoured, is what Truss said in a statement. Truss also awarded other honours, including Commander, Officer or Member of the Order of the British Empire, to 4 lawmakers who backed her campaign to become leader of the Conservative Party and Prime Minister last year, the year before last year, as well as 2 of her former advisors in government. And separately, Britain recognised more than 1,200 people, including England women's soccer goalkeeper Mary Earps, in King Charles' New Year's honours list, also announced on Friday. And if you want to know more, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.